Just wanted to give an update. Obviously, the City of Cleveland and RTA have been working in cooperation on this issue of Public Square for some period of time. As you understand, one of the things that we've been talking about principally is the impact of the closure to RTA. To facilitate an understanding of that, we discussed and RTA agreed that we would do a traffic study, a traffic analysis. And so wanted to just give an update of that process because I know that both RTA and the City of Cleveland have gotten a number of inquiries as to the status of that process, if you would. So just by way of information, the traffic study or the traffic count, if you would, actually was scheduled to occur today. It was postponed because of weather conditions, and so that will actually occur tomorrow. Why do we want to do a traffic assessment, a traffic study? Principally, there are three areas of concern that we have. One, we wanted to establish what we call a base condition to kind of understand the existing condition on the square, what is happening as a result of current traffic flow, et cetera. We wanted to take a look at a number of intersections within the traffic zone and look at them from a context of what would happen if the square remains closed, but we do what we call semi-actuation of a number of the intersections. So how do we mechanically, through technology, impact the ability to have the signalization work in such a way through either a prioritization system or what we call a detection and push system, and I'll explain what that is in a minute, to facilitate some improvements in flow of traffic. And then also to take a look finally at a base condition of what would happen if Superior were open and we did not influence the semi-actualization of these locations, basically to let the traffic flow through Superior, but let it flow under the current conditions of how traffic signalization currently works, and to compare those and see whether or not there are impacts with respect to the ability of bus transit to get through around the square, if you would, in a comparative fashion. So what does that tell us? It will tell us, as an example, as we look at traffic counts at intersections, et cetera, where is congestion, where are opportunities? I think that's a critical issue. Where might there be opportunities for us to do something that might impact that in a positive way? I would add that one of the things that we know is that this is a very timely issue. We don't have a lot of time to facilitate doing this, so I want to ask Joe to come over and kind of speak about where we're going to be doing that specifically, the timeline that we're on in terms of when we have to get this done by and when we might expect some results, at least some preliminary findings on it, and then ultimately what we're both doing to appeal to the ability to have some extra time, if you would, to complete this analysis, if you would. So.
Yeah. Thanks, Darnell. Thanks for coming. I know I talked to some of you already today. As Darnell mentioned, we've been working on the study for several weeks. The RTA staff and city staff have been very involved in planning and scoping this out. The counts will be done officially tomorrow. There'll be individuals at 7 intersections looking at how to make improvements in 14 different areas downtown within the transit zone. I have a map of the transit zone if you want to take a photo of that later. The whole goal is, number one, to see what delays there may be by RTA buses not going around the square and not through the square. What can be done to mitigate those delays, if there are delays, and then put together a plan to get FTA concurrence and hopefully request FTA and hopefully get FTA concurrence to keep the buses off of that 600 foot of Superior Avenue through the square. Again, if everything goes well, we hope to be able to do that. As you know, the FTA sent us a letter on December 20th saying we had 30 days to respond. That 30 days is up on January 19th. The results of the study will not be available until January 18th. Hence the reason that both the mayor and RTA separately but collectively requested a 30-day extension of the FTA so we could analyze the study results and see what impact that might have to our local decision-making process. So again, we, as I mentioned to many of you today, we continue to work on this issue. It is certainly RTA's intent to come up with a solution that isn't a negative one for RTA's performance, and very, very importantly, gets the FTA concurrence, which has really been a major subject of our joint concern and a subject of media attention over the last couple of weeks.
And just one final comment, because I want to echo what Joe just said, because it is firmly the intent of the city, obviously in RTA, to make sure that if there are impacts to ridership in terms of convenience or as it relates to time of folks being able to make their connections, that we do everything that we can to find ways to mitigate that. And so again, this traffic analysis will go a long ways towards A, revealing what are those challenges, and then B, determining what, if any, opportunities will there be to mitigate that. So again, we're going to continue to work forward with that. Again, that does happen tomorrow on Public Square, so we will be doing that. We'll be out there as long as it takes to get that information. It's basically getting data and then putting that data into a model that will tell us, based on certain assumptions, what realistically could we hope to see in terms of both impacts, or what happens if we find, what would happen if we did things differently. As an example, I mentioned to prioritization. That's something we did along Euclid, where we gave prioritization in terms of the communication between the bus rapid transit and the signalization along the corridor, such that the buses got a priority when they were approaching. It gives them more green time to get through the intersection. And then there's what I call detection and push, which also exists in that same area, in that same corridor. What that means is, for the most part, the signalization will remain green unless there's a human intervention, such as pushing a signal for crosswalk, which would then change the signal, which again allows for more green time going through the intersection. So these are just things that we know work, have worked, and so these are a couple of things we could use as tools in our toolbox as we move forward. So we're available for any questions if you have any at this point.
Is there any scenario when you might reopen Superior? You might consider reopening Superior?
Again, if you heard everything that the mayor said to this point in time, well, what we want to do is gather information to determine whether or not there is an adverse impact to RTA as a result of it being closed. If that can be mitigated and that information can be sent to FTA, and FTA would accept and approve that, then it would remain as it is. If for whatever reason we cannot demonstrate that, then we would make that determination after the assessment of this information and briefing of the mayor, et cetera.
So, I'm sorry, is there any room at all for opening Superior Avenue by January 19th?
I think our goal at this point in time is to facilitate the process, which is to get the traffic study, complete that, see what it tells us, make the recommendations in terms of mitigation if there are opportunities. Beyond that, if it turns out that that is not the case, then we would have to begin an appropriate strategy to do so, which would have to address all of our prior other concerns regarding public safety, risk assessment, risk analysis, and a way to do so in a way that ensures, again, the safety of the public. So nothing would happen ahead of us getting through this process. This is a systematic approach to getting to an outcome that is informative in terms of what's the real impact, what if there are any, are they able to be mitigated, If they're not, then you make a decision. But if they are, what we would expect to do is be in a position where we'd ask FTA to support the continued closure of Public Square.
What is the plan or the backup plan if the extension is not granted by the FDA?
I think that's to be determined as we move forward. We meet rather frequently, and so we are looking at all of the scenarios, if you would, in terms of what we should do. But in the interim, as I said, at this point in time, we've both asked for a 30-day extension. As to when we get a response to that, if we get that prior to the 19th, that could inform where we go. It's a fluid process, and again, we're in constant communication on these issues almost daily. So as things change, or if something becomes significant that we need to make public, we will do so at that appropriate point in time.
2 minor points for clarity. One is with respect to the study tomorrow. At any point, will Superior be open for the study, or will that all be determined in a model, as you said?
It will be determined in a model, as I said.
Secondly, since Public Square was reopened in July, is this the first official formal study to date, or has there been any other informal studies since that time?
I think this is the first formal study using a resource and a third-party resource to do that.
So this will be with the assistance of the folks from Parsons Brinker.
That's correct.
Okay.
Hasn't the FDA said that this study is not going to change their findings? I mean, haven't they already said that this is not going to change the mind?
I believe the last thing that was of record said that there's been a lot of communication between both the city and RTA, and then RTA and FTA. And I'm not at liberty to say where we are now, but there is an opportunity to have a different outcome on that, and so that is a current constant discussion that we're having. We're raising all opportunities, all issues. I think what we're asking for at the end of the day is a fair opportunity to let the assessment process take place, allow us to do the proper due diligence, make the case. You can evaluate the case and determine whether or not it meets the objectives for transit, safe transit in our community. If it does not, then we'll deal with it at an appropriate point in time. That is not this time.
Some people might say, why wait to do the due diligence? RTA started getting these letters in August, September, October, November, December. Now, this traffic study we're waiting on, it's due the day before the deadline. So why wait so long to do this due diligence?
Well, again, it's been a fluid, dynamic process that the city and RTA have been working at this for a while. We did not know initially that A, there would be a letter, B, there would be a deadline, C, what the deadline would be. And so we had always anticipated doing this work, so.
Yeah, I think the other thing to realize is we are public entities, we have public procedures, we just can't go out and pick up the phone and hire someone tomorrow. We had to go through some procurement process. The other thing that's a major impact, we could not do the study we're doing tomorrow through the Christmas period, the holiday period, the Thanksgiving period. We needed normalcy. So again, this was the first time beyond the holiday period we could do that. We're kind of up to a deadline, but we want the study to be right as well.
Question for, I guess, maybe Joe, or I'm not sure if you know this, Mr. Brown, but weren't these mitigating factors, things like signal prioritization and so forth, weren't those already memorialized in the 2004 interagency agreement? In other words, weren't these things supposed to happen anyway?
And I have Mike Shipper that can discuss that more specifically, but the answer is, I think no. The Healthline project, again, had exclusive lanes and signal prioritization at certain intersections on Euclid Avenue. The transit zone had exclusive lanes on Superior Avenue from West 3rd to East 18th Street, 24/7, and exclusive lanes on St. Clair from West 3rd to East 11th or 12th, I believe, but no signal prioritization at those intersections.
So in your mind, this is over and above?
Yes, this is over and above that. And again, the goal would be to determine, could the savings there more than mitigate, or hopefully more than mitigate any delays caused by the 600-foot closure within the square?
Yeah, the other thing I would add to that is even beyond what was required in the original agreement, there are a number of things that working cooperatively with RTA, the city and RTA have added additional enhancements so that other intersections have prioritization, additional dedicated bus lanes we've extended, the transit zone. So there are a number of things that were done above and beyond outside of what the original requirements are. And so what we're doing is, this is a continuance of that effort to determine how to bring more efficiency to the system.
What have been some of those enhancements?
As an example, I know that we did add some dedicated, actually we extended the transit zone from West 3rd to West 6th. We also took the dedicated bus lane that was along, I believe, Superior in front of the Hyatt and moved it away from the curve so that the valet section wasn't disturbed. Again, some of the signalization things that we did working in cooperation with RTA to, again, give more prioritization intersections we put in. So those are some of the things we did.
I think one of the big things that was done that was really great, and I want to thank the city for doing this, is again, the Healthline project looked at signal prioritization by giving, as Darnell said, giving the bus that was approaching and within a certain distance, a longer green to get through. The city's converted that in a number of locations to signal preemption, where actually the light will go from red to green as the vehicle approaches, which is a big impact. So that's one of the things with new technology we did along Euclid Avenue that really helped the travel time there and reduced it. So these are some of the things we'll be looking at in other portions within the transit zone.
So just to clarify then, so along the Healthline's route, where there was signal prioritization, there isn't signal preemption the entire route or just in sections of?
There are certain intersections where there's prioritization. There are also certain intersections where there's preemption.
Okay.
And that's been an ongoing process, working with the city staff, who's been very cooperative in this. Again, try to give us the best benefit we can.
Was there a traffic study similar to this one before the grant was awarded in 2004, and if so?
Oh, many studies, yeah.
So is there an expectation that anything will be different this time around?
Well, I think the studies before looked at what technologies used, like the exclusive lanes on Superior and St. Clair, would benefit, a dozen RTA bus routes. So we're looking right now at what else can be done in addition to the exclusive lanes, like the signal prioritization or preemption.
I mean, specifically in Public Square, was there a study basically similar to the one you guys plan to do tomorrow?
Yeah, I think that, again, the transit zone, there are really two major components to the Healthline project. One was what we see on Euclid Avenue and the benefits of that. The second, separate but related study was the whole study on what we call the transit zone. And again, giving that exclusive lanes and that continuous zone for over a dozen bus routes from, again, the west side, roughly West 3rd, to the east side, either East 12th or East 18th, provided a benefit, enhanced the system in terms of speed, reduced our costs, became more productive, and because of that was more attractive to customers. So again, we're trying to, in this whole process, is not lose that benefit, but maintain that benefit, hopefully even improve that benefit through the study and whatever results from it.
And there's a lot of taxpayers out there. The main question I keep hearing during the story is people saying, $12 million, why don't you just open it, or at least open it in the meantime? I mean, what would you say to those people, taxpayers in Cleveland, who are asking that question?
Well, again, there are two aspects to this we've talked about. One is whether or not there's an operating impact. I think we should know the answer to that. And the other piece of that is, even if it were to open, it would have to be done in such a way that we could ensure the safety of the public. That requires a risk assessment, a number of other things to be put in place so that safety concerns are addressed. And so we believe that we're doing what should be done in terms of process, in terms of an effective way to get to an outcome that is not questionable and it is one that we would expect that FTA will at least review and give a thorough analysis before they render a judgment or an opinion as to the appropriateness of it. That's what we've asked for. That's what we're looking for.
And the mayor has brought up a lot of, sorry, the mayor's brought up a lot of safety and terrorism concerns. He's written some very specific language saying the city would basically have to be absolved from any safety concern. I mean, it just seems like such a high bar. Is there really any way that those safety concerns could be met and Public Square could be reopened?
Again, I think the principal point becomes that then there should be an appropriate risk analysis, risk assessment, identification of what risks do exist, a program or a strategy for how to mitigate them. They should be mitigated, and we would not, nothing should happen prior to doing that if we got to a point where it had to be reopened.
Let me ask you this, why would you agree to these terms to have buses go through Public Square and to actually make a bus lane through it in the redesign if you had no intention of actually opening the road to buses?
You're asking me to speak to as to whether or not there was a predetermination. I don't think there was. I think the mayor has been very clear about his position on this. I won't redirect or speak to what the mayor said previously. I think his comments will stand as his record.
Well, just, I feel like it's, you know, the bus lanes are there. I mean, and you have to pay $12 million if you don't open it up, so.
Well, you're making a lot of assumptions about what will happen.
I'm not making any assumptions. I'm just saying the bus lanes are there.
Again, we've been down, we're in a process, we're in the middle of a process. FDA has said some things, they're on record of saying, RTA is on record, the city's on record. That process is continuing forward. We're going to continue to press the appropriate questions and concerns, and when we get to that outcome, whatever date that becomes certain, we'll live with the consequences or the outcome of that.
And it's not an assumption, it's just a fact that there's bus lanes. Were they just not, I mean, what was the point of the bus lanes?
Again, I'm not going to readdress something that's already, yes, there were bus lanes that were constructed. The square was closed during the construction. It has not opened, has not reopened. We're looking at and have continued to look at. We believe that there's no real efficiency impact. We need to demonstrate that, or if there is an efficiency or financial impact, if there's a way to mitigate that using the existing, because we've added actually bus lanes or dedicated bus lanes in other areas. So just like there's bus lanes that are there, there's additional bus lanes that have been added post-project. So there is not an issue of whether or not 600 feet of bus lane is the issue or not. The issue is the efficiency and the impact or convenience of the riding public, and is there a way to mitigate those concerns? We're going to continue to address those issues. I think the community would be best first served by letting this process play out to its conclusion, and when the results are known and available, we'll make sure that the community is apprised appropriately.
Has a risk assessment been started, or are you working on one?
Again, there are a number of things that we've talked about that came up as part of our concern today. Both of our safety chiefs are engaged in that process and in those discussions as to what might be things that could or should be done as we move forward.
I guess I'm just concerned because you're asking for an extension on this deadline. We're up against the deadline as it is, but if the mayor has said, and he said on multiple occasions, that he won't open Superior without his safety concerns being met, shouldn't the safety concerns shouldn't they be being addressed?
Shouldn't they be on the parallel? We believe they should be. All right. Thank you.